So we're going to continue with the second part of the standard form of a quadratic function notes. Okay, so on example 4 and 5, we're going to look at sketching graphs. So example 4 says we want to graph y equals x squared minus 4x minus 4. Well, before we can even sketch a graph, the first thing we have to do is to find our vertex, okay, which is what we talked about in the last video. So remember, our vertex is h and k. So let's name our a, b, and c first. So our equation's in standard form. So a is the number in front of x squared, which would be positive 1. B is the number in front of your x, which is negative 4. And c is your constant, what you're adding to the end, which is also negative 4. So let's find h first. So the formula for finding h is negative b over 2a. Okay, so negative, and then our b values, negative 4 over 2 times our a value, which is positive 1. So a negative and a negative 4 is positive 4. 2 times 1 is positive 2. And 4 divided by 2 is positive 2. Now we're going to find k. So to find k, we're going to take our equation, x squared minus 4x minus 4. But instead of plugging in x, we're going to plug in our x, or our h value rather. So instead of x squared, we're going to have 2 squared minus 4. Instead of x, we're going to have times 2, and then subtract 4. So 2 squared is positive 4. Negative 4 times 2 is negative 8, and then subtract 4. So left to right, 4 minus 8 is negative 4 minus 4, which will give us negative 8. So our vertex then is going to be 2, negative 8. Now before, when we sketched the graphs, we also talked about our axis of symmetry. So I'm just going to say A of S. That's our axis of symmetry. And that's x equals the x value from your vertex, which is positive 2. So I already sketched a coordinate plane over here on the right-hand side. So we're going to look at our graph now. So our vertex is 2, negative 8. And notice this number out in front of our x squared is a positive. So that means we're going to open up, which means our vertex is going to be a minimum. Okay, and then I'm also going to find my y-intercept actually before I graph. So our y-intercept, remember we talked about yesterday, is going to be 0, and then whatever your constant value is in your equation, which is negative 4. Okay, so let's go back to the graph. So our vertex is 2, negative 8, so right 2 and down 8. We'll put that right there. And then I'm going to draw a vertical line through my vertex to show my axis of symmetry. Then I'm going to go to my y-intercept next, which is 0, negative 4. So 0 and down 4. Now what this is going to help us do is make our sketch of our graph more accurate. Notice how this y-intercept is 2 spaces out from our axis of symmetry on the left. So now we're going to go 2 spaces out on the right from our axis of symmetry, and that's going to tell us exactly how wide or how skinny our graph is going to be. So now I'm just going to connect the 3 points, and there's our parabola. So example 5 is similar to example 4, where we're going to graph y equals negative 2x squared minus 8x plus 1. So we're going to start by finding our vertex. So we're going to name our A, our B, and our C. So A is the number in front of our x squared, which is negative 2. B is the number in front of our plane x, which is negative 8. And C is our constant, what we're adding, which is positive 1. So to find our vertex, we're going to start with h, and the formula for finding h is negative b over 2a. So negative times our b value, which is negative 8, over 2 times a value, which is negative 2. So negative and negative 8 is positive 8 in the numerator In the denominator, 2 times negative 2 is negative 4. And 8 divided by negative 4 is negative 2. Now we're going to find our k value. So you're going to plug the h value into your equation where the x is. So we're going to have negative 2, but instead of x, we're going to plug in our h value, which is negative 2 squared, minus 8 times our h value again instead of x, which is negative 2, and plus 1. So order operations, we'll start with our exponent. So negative 2 squared is positive 4. Bring everything else straight down. Okay, multiply. Negative 2 times positive 4 is negative 8. Negative 8 times negative 2 is positive 16. Bring down that plus 1. Left to right, negative 8 plus 16 is positive 8 plus 1, which is 9. So our vertex is our h and k. So our h is negative 2 and our k is positive 9, which means our axis of symmetry is going to be x equals our x value, which is negative 2. Let's go ahead and find our y-intercept. So our y-intercept is going to be 0 and then your constant value, which in this case is going to be positive 1. Okay, so I went ahead and sketched a coordinate plane here, and now we're going to start looking at our graph. So we're going to start with our vertex, which is negative 2, positive 9, and notice our x squared term was negative, which means that our vertex is going to be a maximum value. So left 2 and up 9. Just going to put us right there. And our axis of symmetry is just going to go straight through there. Our y-intercept is 0 and positive 1. 0 and up 1. So notice our y-intercept is 2 spaces to the right from our axis of symmetry. So let's go out 2 spaces to the left from our axis of symmetry. And that will tell us exactly how wide our parabola is. And then we'll connect. And there's our graph.